Good evening, my sweet sugar bushes, bears, and bridges. Welcome to another episode of Crime and Cosmetics. As always, I am your host, Snaxton. Today we are covering the backpacker murders that happened in Australia. I'm probably just going to do a really simple look. I actually have to do D&D in about an hour and a half or so I don't want to do something too complicated because we missed last week, so I'm going to play with them this week. So something simple is what I'm thinking. Maybe some black and red, some black smudge it around the eyes. We'll just see where it goes, see where it takes us. As you can see, Dad got his haircut finally. My sides were getting real shaggy. But anyways, let's get started. So up until about the mid-90s, backpacking through Australia was kind of the go-to thing. All you really had to do was get a rucksack and pack the essentials. For transportation, you either bought a really, really cheap used car, or you could take the public transportation, the buses. Another really common way to get around was hitchhiking. Travel agencies even promoted backpacking as a very inexpensive way to see the beautiful sights that Australia had to offer. And even, I think, if I remember correctly, the whole shrimp on the Barbie thing that everybody always references when they talk about Australia. That was part of a travel agency talking about backpacking through Australia. Don't quote me on that, but if I read correctly, it was. So this narrative, though, of backpacking through Australia and hitchhiking being safe and stuff like that. Yeah, you go ahead. You know I'm up here, so you make all your noise, sister. Let's hear it. War Chief. Hey. Don't look at me over that box. You want to quiet down for me? I'll take that as a no. You done? Are you done? Are you done? Huh? Are you done? Don't just look at me. Are you done? Little girl? Are you? Can we quiet it down for a second for me? Huh? Okay, thank you. So that narrative started kind of changing when the bodies of backpackers started popping up left and right. On September 19th, 1992 in the Belanglo, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, my Australian friends, I apologize. In the Belanglo State Forest, two runners who, so they're runners, but I also read that they were orienteering, which is kind of like getting lost for fun and navigating your way through the forest. In the Army, we called it land nav, and it was not fun because I suck at it, but that's what they were doing. They stumble upon a body concealed in the bush, and they're like, holy Christ on a cracker, we need to go get the police. So they go get the police. Police cordon off the area, start searching around, and the next morning, during their continued search, they find a second body less than 100 feet from the initial corpse that they had found. So thanks to dental records, though, they were able to confirm that these two individuals they had discovered were the bodies of Joanne Walters, age 22, and Carolyn Clark, age 21. They were two British backpackers who had gone missing back in April. Upon further examination of Joanne's body, they found that she had been stabbed a total of 14 times. 4 times in the chest, 1 time in the neck, and 9 times in the back. And it said that if she had survived those injuries, those stabbings, the stab wounds to her back would have left her paralyzed. Caroline had been shot in the head a total of 10 times. Police believe that she had been shot at the burial site and that the assailant had used her for target practice. So the next findings, I read 2 versions of this. I read that this man was just looking for firewood, and then I also read that he grew up around the forest and knew how to traverse it very well, so he just started going looking for missing people on his own. But nonetheless, in October of 1993, this man is looking through a particularly remote part of the forest. He stumbles upon what he believes to be human remains. He leaves, he goes and gets the police, they return, and they are able to identify these human remains as Deborah Everest, age 19, and James Gibson, who is also 19. They were a young Victorian couple from Frankston who had been missing since December 30th of 1989. James' skeleton was found in the fetal position and showed signs of 8 stab wounds. So these bodies were just skeletons, so police only had the bones to go off of. So if I remember correctly, they couldn't tell exactly how many times the person had been stabbed, but they were looking at like fractures in the bone to get a good estimate. But it looked like on James, a large knife had cut through his upper spine, causing paralysis. He also had stab wounds to his torso area that would have punctured his heart and lungs. Deborah, on the other hand, had been brutally beaten. Her skull was fractured in 2 places, her jaw had been broken, and she had knife marks on her forehead. She had also been stabbed once in the back. These bodies being found in this really remote part of the forest kind of puzzled investigators, because the day after the couple went missing on December 31st of 1989, James Gibson's camera had actually been found on the side of the road at Galston Gorge in the northern Sydney suburbs. And then on March 13th of 1990, his backpack had been found at the same place. This was about 75 miles or 120 kilometers north of where the bodies had been found. So on November 1st of 1993, police find the remains of an individual while sweeping a fire trail. The remains were later identified as Simone Schmiedel. War Chief. Yeah, you see me staring at you, so you're gonna stop. This child, I swear. She was a German woman who had been missing since leaving Sydney for Melbourne on January 20th, 1991. Her body had at least 8 stab wounds, 2 of which that had severed her spine, and others had punctured her heart and lungs. So as police are searching the area that Simone's body was found in, they find clothing that doesn't belong to her, but instead belonged to Anja Habschied, age 20. She was another German woman who had disappeared along with her partner, Gabor Neuenbar, sorry if I said that wrong, age 21, after leaving King's Cross Hostel in Mildura on December 26, 1991. So 3 days later, on November 4th, those 2 bodies were those individuals were actually discovered on another fire trail nearby. They were buried in shallow graves about 50 meters apart. Anja had been decapitated completely, and despite a very extensive search, her skull was never recovered. Gabor had been shot in the head 6 times. With the discovery of all these bodies, some of the evidence did show that they had, some of the victims did not die instantly, and a majority of the victims showed signs of sexual assault as well. So in response to these findings, the finding of these bodies, police were like, okay, yeah, we have a serial killer on our hands, and we need to pedal to the metal, catch this guy. So the New South Wales Police Department creates Task Force AIR. This is a task force made up of around 20 detectives and analysts who are tasked with solving these murders. On November 5th of 1993, the NSW government increases the reward for any information leading to whoever did this to $500,000. So police start giving out public warnings, especially to backpackers, international backpackers, stuff like that, tourists. They tell them to avoid hitchhiking along Hume Highway. Sorry if I mispronounced that. So police soon develop a profile of this serial killer. They believe that he has control issues. He's an outdoorsman for how remote some of the remote places these bodies were found. This leads to an enormous volume of data. They use link analysis technology. They apply it to road and traffic authority records, gym memberships, gun licenses, and internal police records, So as a result of compiling all this data together, the list of suspects drops down to around 230, and soon after that drops to around 32. So they're piecing together, the similarities in this murder. The bodies had all been dumped in remote sections of the forest. They had been covered with a pyramid of sticks and branches and such. Each victim had suffered multiple stab wounds, and many of them showed signs of sexual assault. So police deduct that the killer must be somebody who had a 4-wheel drive vehicle and spent an extensive amount of time with the victims both during and after the murders. They came to this conclusion because close to the burial sites were signs of a makeshift camp. Matching .22 caliber rounds, as well as the shell casings and cartridge boxes, had been linked to the murders and found at the crime scenes. Say hi to people. Oh my god. Say hi. Yeah, hi. Yeah? What? What's wrong? Police also started to think that the murders were the work of multiple people because the victims had been attacked in pairs and had been murdered separately. It seemed like a lot of work for one person to do. So police had set up this phone line to call in, and if you have any information on who might be doing this, what have you, a gentleman with the most fantastic name I've ever heard, Paul Onions, had called in and told police about a funny incident he had while traveling through Australia. On January 25th of 1990, Paul had been backpacking through Australia and was hitchhiking from Liverpool Station to Madeira. He had accepted a ride south out of Casula from a man he only knew as Bill. So about south of the town of Mittagong and about 1 kilometer away from Belangolo Forest, the man that he was traveling with, that he only knew as Bill, stops the truck. He says something along the lines of like, "Oh, I'm gonna step out of the back and get some tapes or something to play, like put in his cassette." And Mr. Onions is like, "Okay, sounds good." And he's about to get out and stretch his legs, and the Bill is like, "No, stay in the car, stay, blah, 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 blah." And Bill's like, sorry. Onions is like, "That's a little weird, but whatever you say, bud." So Bill gets out and he goes to the back of the vehicle, and Onions is kind of looking around, and he sees that there's actually a bunch of tapes in the floorboard of the passenger side. So why does he need to go to the back of the car to get more tapes? That's weird. That's suspicious. That's when Mr. Bill comes back to the driver's side and pulls out a revolver, and he's like, "You know what this is?" And Mr. Onions is like, "Yeah, I'm not an idiot. It's a gun, you idiot." And basically Bill's like, "This is a robbery, blah, 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 blah." Onions manages to escape and run off down the road. Bill's like firing at him and stuff like that. A nice, lovely motorist named Joanne Barry stops and picks Onions up, drives him to the nearest town to call the police. So on April 13th, 1994, Onions had made this call around November 13th of 1993, but because the police got such a large volume of calls about these murders, they missed it. It got buried. So finally, police find the message that Onions had left. They go to the Barrow Police Department, which is where Mr. Onions filed this police report. They're trying to find the OG police report from the day it happened, and unfortunately they can't. But fortunately for detectives, a constable at the time had recorded details of the incident in her notebook, so they were able to use that. Onion's statement had been corroborated by Joanne Barry, who had been contacted by the investigation team as well. Among others that had been contacted, or among the people who had contacted police about these murders, a young woman who was the girlfriend of a man who worked with a dude named Ivan Milat called and was like, "Hey, you should check this guy out." Now, Ivan and his family, I think he had like 13 brothers and sisters, were no stranger to the police. They had had previous run-ins with the law. They were very family-oriented, don't talk to police, this, that, and the other. I mean, I agree, but I believe there was also an incident where Ivan had kidnapped 2 female hitchhikers and kept them hostage and sexually assaulted them. And while they're driving down the road, one of them convinces Ivan to let them get out and get something to drink at a gas station. When they do, they go into the gas station and, get help, and people call the police. Ivan takes off, but is found not long after. And I think, if I remember reading this correctly, he didn't get any, he was awaiting trial, and then he leaves his shoes at a well-known suicide area and fakes his own death, essentially, and then leaves, is gone for a hot minute, comes back because his mother, I believe, got sick, had cancer or something like that, And when he comes back, he's rearrested, and but he's acquitted of all charges for lack of evidence. So that's cool. But on the 26th of February 1994, police start surveying the Malat house. Now, they start talking to people who knew Ivan, and they all had great things to say about him. You know, he's a great guy, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. He's outdoorsy, he likes his garden, what have you. And then police talk to his ex-wife, and she's like, oh, you want me to tell you about Ivan, huh? Oh, I'll tell you all you want to know about Ivan. She said he was very controlling, had a short temper, violent outbursts, things of that nature. They also find out that Mr. Ivan had sold his silver Nissan Patrol four-wheel drive vehicle shortly after the discoveries of Clark and Walters were made. So that's weird, that's suspicious. They also find out that Mr. Ivan was not working on any of the days that they figure the attacks took place. An acquaintance also tells police that Ivan has an obsession with weapons and guns. One of Ivan's brothers is also questioned by police. I think his name was Richard, but he went by Bill. And it was known that Ivan often used his brother's name for vehicle registrations and stuff like that. So police had flown out Paul Onions once they made the connection that the person that attacked him might be the person committing these murders. They fly him out to Australia, and because Paul Onions a motherfucking G, he's like, yeah, I'll help you, no problem. So on May 5th of 1994, he's looking at a group of mugshots. He's like, that's the dude that attacked me. And police are like, that's suspicious, because that's somebody that we're kind of looking at that may have done these murders. And Paul Onions like, that's him. That's that grimy mother effer right there. I want him locked up. Go get him. And on May 22nd of 1994, police now have enough to arrest Malat, Mr. Ivan Malat, on the assault charges that happened to Paul. So 50 officers surround Ivan's house this day. They were also assisted by heavily armed officers from the Tactical Operations Unit. He was arrested on the assault charges pertaining to Paul Onion's case. A search of his home uncovered various weapons, a .22 caliber rifle. They found, I believe, stashed behind some insulation or something like that, they find pieces of a Ruger .22 caliber rifle, as well as a Browning handgun, a large Bowie knife, and other weapons of that type. Another piece of evidence is when they were questioning Ivan's brothers, I can't remember which one it was, but essentially they were just like, yeah, you know, we think he might be doing this, blah, 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 blah. As the police are about to leave, his brother's wife is like, oh, he gave us this not too long ago, and it was a big old camping backpack, and they were like, wow, that looks a lot like the one that one of these bodies had when they went missing. But any hoozle, while they're searching Ivan's house, they find a ton of foreign currency, camping equipment, clothes, and other trophy items that belong to the victim. The homes of Ivan's mother, as well as his brothers, were also searched simultaneously. This whole operation included over 300 officers. At the end of it all, a total of 24 weapons were found, I believe 250 kilograms of ammunition, and a lot of other belongings that a lot of other items that belong to the victim. Sorry, words are hard. So Ivan appears on court on May 23rd. He doesn't enter a plea for some reason. He's charged not only with the assault against Paul Onions, he's charged with the 7 backpacker murders. On June 28th, he fires his defense attorney and seeks legal aid to pay for his defense. So his brothers Richard and Walter are also put on trial for the weapons, drugs, and stolen items that were found on their property. So this case ends up going to the New South Wales Supreme Court. Ivan's defense argues that in lieu of the evidence that there was no non-circumstantial proof that Ivan was guilty of these murders. They also attempted to shift blame onto Ivan's brothers, specifically Richard. Like, damn, dog, you're gonna throw your own brother under the bus? That's effed up. A total of 145 witnesses end up taking the stand, including members of Ivan's family, even Ivan himself. And on July 27th of 1996, that piece of hot garbage is given consecutive life sentences for each of the murders. He is also given an additional 6 years for the assault on Paul Onions, without the possibility of parole. So, as Ivan is put behind bars, police also believe that he could be connected to a ton of missing persons reports and murder cases that have a similar modus operandi. These include the cases involving Karen Rowland, who was 20. She disappeared the 26th of February 1971. She was found in a Fairbairn pine plantation on May 1971. Peter Letcher was 18. He went missing November 1987, found in Ginolan State Forest in 1988. Diane Pinnacochoy, she was 29. She disappeared the 6th of September 1991. She was found in the Talaganda State Forest in November of 1991. In 2001, Ivan was also ordered to give evidence at an inquest into the disappearance in the Newcastle area of 3 female backpackers. I gotta read my notes off this. This is a lot of names. So Leanne Goodall, age 20, disappeared December 30th, 1978. Robin Hickey, 18, disappeared April 7th of 1979. Amanda Robinson, was 14 and disappeared on the 21st of April in 1979. Another related cold case is that of Gordana Kovetsky. She was 16. She disappeared in 1994. Although Ivan was working in the area at the time of the crimes, the cases weren't brought against him due to lack of evidence, but they are believe that he was responsible for them. There were similar inquiries launched in 2003 in relation to the disappearance of 2 nurses, and another inquiry was launched in 2005 in relation to the disappearance of a hitchhiker by the name of Annette Briefa. But again, there wasn't enough evidence, so no charges were filed. So on January 26th of 2009, our boy Ivan decides he's gonna cut off, I believe, his pinky with a plastic knife with the intention of mailing it to the High Court of Australia to force an appeal. This doesn't work, obviously. He was taken to Goulburn Base Hospital under high security, but on January 27th of 2009, he's returned to the hospital and officials didn't deem it necessary to reattach his pinky. Now, this wasn't the first time, though, Ivan had hurt himself in prison. In 2001, he had swallowed razor blades and other small objects. And then in May of 2011, Malat went on a 9-day hunger strike. He lost 15 kilograms, and the reasoning for this hunger strike was that because he wanted a PlayStation. So in May of 2019, he is transferred to the Prince of Wales Hospital in Randwick, and he is diagnosed with esophageal cancer. In October 27th of 2019, Ivan dies from said cancer. Prior to his death, though, Ivan had written his family that he wanted the New South Wales government to pay for his funeral, and that request was promptly denied. He was instead cremated, with full cost of the cremation to be reimbursed from his prison account. There was also a statement made by Ivan's former lawyer. They said it was, okay, in my research it said it was a deathbed statement in 18th of July 2005, in which he claimed that Ivan had been assisted by his sister, Shirley, who died in 2003 in the killings of the 2 British backpackers. I do not know the validity of that, but I'm just giving you information that I think you might find interesting. But that is the backpack murders that took place in Australia. 7 confirmed individuals dead at the hands of Ivan Malat, and a plethora more that they believe that he did, but can't be linked to him with direct evidence. All right, let's pick our true crime for next week. Alrighty, let's see who we got going. What? This one got stuck in my finger, so let's see. Oh, it's 2. Hey, which one? Which one should we use? Hey, which one? Which one? You guys want this one right here? Okay. Baby, watch out. This one they chose. Cocaine Bear! Yeah. Good old Cocaine Bear. What an insane story that one is. I'm excited now. that is what we're going to be covering, the story of Cocaine Bear. You might be thinking that's not a true crime, but there was crime involved, so we're going to do it. Alrighty, thank you so much for stopping by Sugar Bushes, Bears, and Britches. I will be seeing you again soon. I'm going to get some vlog stuff made, things of that nature. If you have a case you uncovered, please, please, please leave it in the comments down in this video so I can add it to the murder pot. Join our Coven. It's our Discord server where we get to get together and play games sometimes. I'll link that in the description of this video as well. And you can follow me on my other social medias. I stream on Twitch just about every day. And every night when I get off work, I post dumb things on TikTok. Oh, but you know that because most of you are here from TikTok. But as always, thank you so much for stopping by. I love you so much, and I value your support more than you know. Be safe, be kind to others, be kind to yourself. I hope all the good things happen to you and you have a great day. Remember that you are loved, you are valid, your emotions are valid. There's always going to be a place for you here in this community, and I'm so happy to have you here. I will see you again next week. Love you so much. Bye-bye.